What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and welcome to another episode of our First Down Training show. Today we're going to be talking about what I would do and what I would tell my son if he were to play football. Now, we're not going to talk about like the extremes, like, hey, do this drill, do that drill, even though I might do that, but we're going to talk about some of the things on like the mental side of things, like emotional side of things that can help you deal with like the stresses and the challenges of playing football. So I hope this video is able to help you out. Let's get started. Now, I'm not making this video, fellas, as like a way to give like parenting advice. I don't have a son. I don't have kids. I think that's definitely in the future for me, but I think it's very, very far off, at least from where I'm at in like this present day and time, if you will. But really, I'm just giving this as kind of a, maybe to reiterate some of the things that you hear as an athlete from your parents or hear from other sources, because like I'm aware of the fact that a lot of people like, you know, watch our drills, train with me, come to our camps, maybe because like, you know, it's good to hear it from a different source, right? Like maybe your coaches at school are telling you something, maybe your parents are telling something, but maybe hearing it from like a third party who's just not biased might help you buy into the concept a little bit more. So that's why I make this video. Now, listen, if I had a son, I wouldn't necessarily force him to play football. That's not, I know it's hard to believe for a lot of you. I definitely put him in football because I think that there's a lot that you can learn from just the game in terms of how to deal with adversity, working with a team of people. If you're in a leadership position like middle linebacker or quarterback, you can learn how to be a leader. You learn how to, you know, I guess you could say follow directions from a coach. There's a lot of benefits to playing it. But if he wanted to do like the piano or be like, you know, a freaking basketball player, like probably not in the cards with my height. But anyways, you know, I would support him in whatever he decides to do. But the first thing that I want to get across to you guys, because there's really three things that I want to get across to you in this video. The first thing is that if you're going to do something, you need to do it with your absolute best effort. And I'm not saying that you need to be the best, but you need to pursue excellence. You need to pursue being the best at what you are trying to do. Now, maybe that's, you know, maybe that's not the best advice, but like me personally, like you're never going to be perfect, and no matter what aspect of life it is, whether it's sports, whether it's, you know, schoolwork, whatever, you're going to make mistakes, right? But as long as you're learning from those mistakes and understanding like, okay, I made this mistake, what am I going to do about it? That's kind of the attitude that you want to have. So really, I think the first point that I would try to get across to, you know, an athlete who just comes and talk to me, if it's my own son, whatever the case may be, I'm going to say that you need to be willing to do, if you want to be successful at football, if you want to be successful at anything, making videos on YouTube, making videos on Instagram, TikTok, wherever you guys follow us, wherever you guys have seen us before, you have to be willing to do what other people aren't willing to do. Because like me personally, like if I have a son, unless my wife's like, you know, 6 foot plus, like probably not going to be very big, right? And I'm sure a lot of you guys watching this are probably a little bit undersized, maybe not the fastest, maybe not the most talented, but how you can get an edge on people, how you can get a leg up on people is by doing what they're not necessarily willing to do. So what does that mean, right? So like, I think a lot of athletes want to play college ball. A lot of athletes want to be as successful as possible in high school, youth ball, college, whatever you're deciding to play, but they're not necessarily willing to go the extra mile or willing to do what kind of the audacious few are willing to do, which essentially means like, are you getting up super early? Like, let's say you don't have to get up until 7 a.m. Let's say school's at 8, you have practice after school, then you have homework, then you go to bed and you repeat the process, maybe, you know, play some video games, whatever, at the end of the day, whatever. Are you willing to get up maybe instead of at 7, get up at 5? And maybe go to the gym, maybe do some skill work, maybe watch some film, then have your breakfast, then go to school? Are you willing to stay after practice 45 minutes or an hour to work on your skills, tell your parents to pick you up a little bit later than what you're supposed to be picked up at? Like, what are you willing to do? Are you willing to go the extra mile, and are you willing to do what other people aren't willing to do? Like, I know me personally, like I'll give you an example from my, you know, personal, like I feel like I've had some success in this like football training world. Like we by far have the biggest brand on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you name it, right? And you know, that doesn't happen by accident. It wasn't like I just posted something one day and then all of a sudden everything just blew up, right? What happened was I was willing to do what other people weren't willing to do in this space. I was willing to, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, I'm not trying to brag, I don't want to come off like that, but it's just an example so you guys can see and maybe relate. I was willing to post 4 times a day on Instagram, 4 times a day on TikTok. You guys know the deal. I post a long form YouTube video every single day. I have employees. I'm not just a one-man show. I have other people that help me out filming. I have other people in the videos, and that requires a financial commitment, a financial investment that a lot of people aren't willing to do because maybe they don't believe in it, maybe they don't believe in themselves, or they just want to be okay. They don't necessarily want to be great. Like, I want to be great. I want to reach as many of you as I possibly can. If I could reach every single football player in America, I'm doing my job. And if I give them some type of value, whether that's through education, entertainment, stuff like this, I'm doing my job. And that's my goal. And that requires a certain level of commitment that people aren't willing to do. Like, people don't see the hours behind the scenes, right? People don't see me get up, like, and this is no joke, I get up every day pretty much at 3:45 in the morning, except on Sundays I sleep till 5, right? I don't know a lot of people that are willing to get up at 3:45, but I do that because I feel like mentally it gives me an edge over people, and I feel like I'm doing things that people aren't necessarily willing to do. While they're sleeping, I'm working. When they go to bed, I'm staying up and I'm working. So that's the type of attitude that you have to have, and if I had a son who was serious about playing football or serious about doing anything, that's what I try to get across to him. So that's what I'm trying to get across to you guys, that if you want to be successful in this game of football, you got to be willing to do what other people aren't willing to do. Now, the second thing I would try to get across to my son, I probably, honestly, wouldn't even coach. Like, let's say I have a son, let's say I have him right now, and let's say he's, like 8, 9 years old. He's starting to play football, put him in tackle football, whatever. I probably wouldn't coach the team unless it was like atrociously bad. But I would teach him to have great respect for his, coaches and stuff like that. I wouldn't tell him like, hey, do what I say, don't do what they say. I wouldn't be that guy. And I'm not a fan of parents who do that type of stuff and parents who have a coaching background to do that. Trust your kids, or trust the coaches. Anytime I've ever come across a kid that I've trained, high school, youth ball, whatever, and their parent was in the NFL, and I've trained a lot of people like this, they're extremely hands-off because they know the value of trusting the coaches and how hard it is to coach when you have somebody giving your kid other information. So I'm not necessarily saying that, but when it comes to a game, something I would try to get across to my son, something I want to try to get across to you guys who look at this type of stuff for information, advice, some type of value, is when it comes down to like a game, when it comes down to a practice, you need to focus on being in the present moment. You're not worried about the past, you're not worried about the next play, you were worried about exactly what you were doing on that specific rep. This is something that, and again, all the advice that I try to pass down to you guys is all from experience. It's not from hearsay, it's all stuff that I went through, it's all stuff that I've coached athletes and seen them go through, it's all from experience, because that's how you learn. You don't learn these types of things unless you hear it from a trusted source or somebody that you look up to, somebody that you trust, or you go through it yourself, right? And I didn't necessarily have a lot of people who explained this stuff to me. I had great parents, but they never played football. They never really were like into sports like that. They were very supportive. They wanted, anytime I told my dad like, hey, I want to go throw, he would do it. He would go to every single game, all that type of stuff. It was great. I'm not complaining about that in any means, but a lot of these lessons you have to learn on your own, right? So that's what I'm trying to pass it on to you. And one of the most beneficial things I got from a coach who I trusted and respected was, hey, take it one play at a time, just do your 1/11th. And 1/11th meant there's 11 guys on the field. Everybody's got a job to do. For us to be successful, all 11 guys have to do their job individually, right? It's a team sport, but individually you need to pull your own weight. So that's all you should really be focused on and be in that present moment. Take it one play at a time, but don't let the result of the play affect how you feel about yourself. And that is something that I would harp on my kid about. Because and even if I have a daughter who doesn't want to play football, maybe she plays flag football, maybe she wants to play basketball, soccer, track, whatever, this is the same type of advice I would give, is like, you cannot be focused on a past mistake. You cannot be focused on a past success. And we're going to talk about failure and success in a second and how to deal with that properly. But I would tell them listen, you have a job to do. Whether you're doing individual drills, routes versus air, O-line, D-line drills, running back drills, whatever, drills, positional stuff, competition stuff, one-on-ones, 11-on-11 team, every single play you have a job to do. Right? And if you just focus on what that job is and you're hyper focused on what that job is and you're so concerned about executing that job that nothing else matters, that's focus. That's how you can get rid of the nerves. That's how you can get rid of the anxiety of practice and of a game. Just focus on your job and being the best possible. Don't worry about anything external. Don't worry about the crowd. Don't worry about the coaches. Don't worry about the guy lined up in front of you. Yes, you have to execute certain things in front of the guy in front of you, but just focus on your job. Now, the other element of that is when you're so focused on your job, I think you put a lot of pressure on yourself, right? Inherently, I put a ton of pressure on myself to perform. Like if I'm doing a video and I screw up talking, I film it again. If I lose my train of thought, I film it again because I need to make sure that I hold myself to a high standard, right? But if I screw up on a video and then all I'm thinking about is that mistake, the next video that I film, I'm gonna make another mistake because I'm not focused on what I need to do. So I'm not dwelling on the past mistake and I'm not getting down on myself. I learn from it. Okay, don't do that again. And then we try to figure it out. That's the same thing with football. Let's say you're a quarterback, right? I'd probably push my son to play quarterback if he's gonna play football because it's low-key a little boring if you're not the quarterback and you're a parent watching because it's like, he's not getting the ball. A quarterback touches the ball every play. It's fun to watch, right? That's a selfish reason why I'm putting him in quarterback. But anyways, let's say he throws a pick six. comes to the sideline, he's so pissed off and he's down on himself, I suck, whatever. He goes out there and he's still thinking about that last play. He's not going to perform well, right? But if he comes to the sideline, learns from his mistake, next play out there, he's just focused on what he needs to do. That's the most important thing. Just forget about the past mistake. Forget about the past 50-yard touchdown pass. It was great. You were successful for a second, but what are you on the next play? And if you can focus on that, you guys, I promise you're going to see your performance increase, and just like mentally, you're going to be more tapped into what you were doing, and then anxiety, the nerves of playing football will start to go away. Because that was something I struggled with, but over time, you get better with that type of stuff, okay? Now, before we talk about failure and success, fellas, if you're a quarterback or wide receiver watching this video and you would like to train with myself and my staff of coaches this offseason, we are going to be traveling out to 15 different cities across the entire U.S. for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps. So guys, if you want to attend one of our camps, go to that very first link in the description below. That is where you can sign up. Again, very first link in that description below. This is the 3rd year in a row where we're traveling all over the country, 15 different locations. Our next camp is going to be in San Francisco, California, which is in December. And guys, all these camps will sell out probably 2 to 3 months in advance. So like by the end of October, our first couple of camps will be sold out. So guys, make sure you take advantage of the fact that we have open spots. Very first link in that description below. After San Francisco, we'll come out to Orlando, Florida, then Phoenix, Arizona, Columbia, South Carolina, Seattle, Washington, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Then we'll be heading out to Nashville, Tennessee, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Austin, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, Columbus, Ohio, Denver, Colorado, Salt Lake City, Utah, Boston, Massachusetts, and finishing off our tour in Los Angeles, California, as always. So guys, want some more information? Very first link in that description below. Now, and then, like I said, failure and success. I would spend a lot of time talking to my kids about failure and success. And this is one of the downsides of social media. I feel like we only see people's success. I was watching a podcast the other day with Tom Brady and I believe it was Greg Olson, right? It was a pretty interesting podcast because it was all focused on like youth sports, right? And so both of those guys have kids. I don't have kids, so that's why I kind of wanted to watch it. I wanted to see their approach to parenting from, you know, the arguably one of the greatest athletes of all time, definitely the greatest football player of all time, and a guy who played at the highest possible level, one of the best tight ends ever. So it's like, okay, how do they look at things? And Brady brought up a great point. With the days of social media, all you see is the positives. Same thing with Tom Brady. Like, all you hear about is like he got 6, 7 rings, right? Like, so it's like no pun intended, but he got 7 rings, right? You see, talk about all the success. He's this, he's that. And so you see that on social media, but you don't see what happened behind the scenes. Now, Tom Brady's story is obviously a little bit more publicized than a lot of people who don't have his success, but like drafted 199. There were 5 quarterbacks ahead of him at Michigan. There were 4 quarterbacks ahead of him at the Patriots. He had to work his way up. He had to earn his stripe. Quarterback goes down, he gets thrown in, and then he just runs with it, right? So you don't necessarily see the failures. You don't necessarily see the downsides. And what I would try to explain to my son, what I want to try to explain to you guys, is that failure and what you do with it kind of defines who you are. Right? So, and that's just like anything in life, man. Like, what are you going to do about it? I know plenty of people in today's day and age, it's so prevalent where everybody loves to play the victim, right? Whether that's in just like, you know, education systems. I was watching this video about like capitalism the other day, and it seemed like everybody who was like, and again, I don't care which way you think about this type of stuff because that's not what this is about, but everybody who was like anti-capitalism seemed to have a reason why they weren't successful, a reason why they weren't where they wanted to be. And the guy who was like debating him was just kind of like, well, listen, like, what are you going to do about it? Like, yes, those are your circumstances, and yes, those are very real things, and yes, those are hard things to deal with, but what are you going to do about it? Are you just going to sit there and be like, oh, woe is me, it's tough, you know, I can't do this, I can't do that, and just give yourself a reason as to why you're not pursuing where you want to be, you're not pursuing the goal that you have? Or are you going to be like, listen, this is where I'm at, what can I do to get out of this situation? So that's what I would try to get across to my son. If he's in a, like, let's say he has an awful game, like this is a game that I had as a player. First varsity start, I go out there against the number 7 ranked team in the state of California. First half, lights out. 200 yards passing, we had a touchdown. We're hanging in there. We were definitely not in the top 10 for the state. We're thinking, man, we got this. Second half, I come out, I throw 5 picks. I probably completed 3 passes, and they were not deep passes. You guys, not good. But I finished the game with like 210 yards passing, right? After 200 yards in the first half, on pace for 400, I had the worst possible game of my entire career ever. That was the worst game I've ever played in any sport. And literally in any sport. I've had some bad baseball outings too, right? So it's like, what are you going to do about it? So I didn't just sit there and say, I'm done, I'm doomed, just drag ass around, just be moping around, whatever. I was like, okay, what went wrong? Did I watch enough film? No. Did I prepare every single night like I should have? No. What did I do the night before? Was I out late? I remember specifically the night before that game, I think I was on a date with somebody, right? So that was like, okay, maybe I could change up a few things. Maybe I don't go on a date the night before. Maybe I get to bed early. Maybe I eat the right foods the night before. Maybe I, study film religiously all weekend, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so I'm prepared going into the game to make sure that this never happens again. What are you going to do with failure? Because everybody makes a mistake. Everybody fails in every aspect of your life, whether that's like a relationship with somebody, whether that's with your friends, maybe you're not being the best possible friend, or whether it's in sports, right? So in sports, you screw up. What are you going to do about it? Now, on the other side of things, everybody talks about that. There's plenty of information out there. You see it on TikTok, see all the motivational videos, people talking about how they failed and all this stuff. And yeah, all that's great. And you see it for 30 seconds, you get all hyped up, and then you forget about it, right? But what do you do with success? That's the other thing that I would try to get across to my kids, is that you're only successful when you perform a successful act. So success and failure, it's the same things. They say success, like I heard this quote the other week from, I believe it was a coach at Florida State when they beat Alabama, is success and praise is a lot like perfume. You could smell it, you can enjoy it, but if you drink it, it's extremely toxic and you'll probably die, right? Or you get very sick. That's a lot like winning, you guys. Like, you have a really, really good outing. You're on cloud nine, you think you're the man, you think you can't do anything wrong. All of a sudden, maybe, I'll sleep in a little bit. Maybe I won't get up and watch the film. I played good. I don't need to study the film. Going into the next week, you feel good. Like, I don't need to stay after practice a little bit extra to work with my receivers or to work with my quarterback or work with my position coach, whatever it is. Because you start thinking you're the man. You can never think that way. You're only successful in the moment. Then after that moment ends, it's a lot like in the very beginning, taking things one play at a time that we talked about. I was successful that day, cool, but I'm only as good as the next one, right? So you need to refocus yourself. It's the same thing. Dealing with success and dealing with failure are two things that will make or break an athlete. And that's what I want to try to get across to you guys. But also, if I had a son, that would be something that I would very, very much so drill into him, is that you were successful for a day. You're not successful. You're only successful when you perform the act. You're not a failure unless you accept that you're a failure. It's just you, like, what do they say about Michael Jordan? Like, he never lost a game, he just ran out of time. That's the attitude you need to have. Like, okay, we lost, I failed, I played bad, how can I make sure that doesn't happen again? And if you can focus on these things, guys, I think mentally, emotionally, and even physically, because it will apply to the physical stuff down the road, you'll be a much better off, or much better situation, much better off, and a much better football player. So that's all I'm going to say about that, you guys. So fellas, now, what we do on every single episode of this show is we answer some questions that you guys left on a previous episode. So you guys know the deal. You've been following our YouTube channel for a while. You guys know I read and respond to every single comment. So guys, if you have comments, you have questions, post it in the comment section below. I promise you I will get back to you. And the best questions that I feel will give everybody watching this the most value, I will feature on our next episode of our show. So guys, post your questions in the comment section below. Let's get into a few of these. So question number one here, you guys. Let me pull these up really quick. So question number one is from Zach Boy 111. Me without football is someone that is searching for a purpose in life. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a dangerous road, right? So like, if football is the only thing that gives you purpose in life, I think that you're on a dangerous path, because football ends eventually for everybody, whether it ends after high school, whether it ends after college, whether, let's say, you make it all the way to the league and it ends after that. If that's the only thing that kind of gives you purpose, and that's the only thing that kind of gives you worth as like an individual or human being, that's not the best course of action. Yes, it could be a place for where you feel like yourself, where you have confidence. Yes, that's great, right? But at the end of the day, like, who are you as a person? Who are you as a son? Who are you as a brother? Who are you as like a spouse when you get older and you get married? Like, if that's your only source of worth in life and purpose, I feel like it's going to be a very depressing road for you. I've gone through that, where like my whole like purpose is just like who I am as like a content creator, who I am as a coach, who I am as certain things. And then when you get into like personal aspects of your life, you realize that you're lacking in those areas, and you honestly can fall into a really big bout of like depression and feeling down on yourself, because you're like, man, I'm just not where I should be as an individual. So you need to make sure that you find value in yourself and find purpose in other aspects of your life, because that's going to help you out be a better human. Football is what you do. It's not who you are. So you can find purpose in that, but you need to have other aspects of your life that you put value and put value in yourself. So hope that answers your question, man, or at least answers your comment. I appreciate you asking that. Next question from Ryan Birch 7860. Do you have any videos on mental training for quarterbacks? My son is just so in his own head about things, and I think he mentally convinces himself that the coach is coaches either don't like him or that they like someone else more. Going so far as telling me they don't like him because he wears protection sleeves and the other quarterback doesn't. He says all this and his coaches have already complimented his leadership skills. What can I do to stamp down this part of him being so hard on himself? So if you're really hard on yourself as an athlete and you're kind of telling, oh, the coaches don't like me, they have it out for me, maybe they're playing favorites, they like other kids. Like, the thing that you have to understand is that, like, yes, coaches can have favorites, but at the end of the day, you can't really control how coaches feel about other players, and you honestly can't really control how coaches feel about you. That's just the way it is in life. Like, sometimes you're going to see somebody and just for whatever reason, like, God, that guy rubs me the wrong way. I don't like that guy. I don't know what it is. That's just the way it is. You can't control that as an individual. The only two things you could control as an athlete is really just like your mindset. So how are you approaching practice? Are you positive? Are you working hard? Are you there to learn? And number two, your actions. And what am I going to do? Okay, I learned this. Am I going to go apply it? I have this on this play. Am I going to go apply it? Those are the only things you can control. So you shouldn't worry about other people's perception of you, other people's perception of other people. Just focus on what you can control. And all you can control is your attitude and your effort. Okay? So I hope that answers your question, man. I appreciate you asking that. Next question from Nicholas James Vickery. Hey, coach, I've been throwing so bad relentlessly. Normally I can rip the ball, the tight spiral. Now I can't. It's low in the 20 yards. This is the worst slump of my life. I've lost all my confidence. What should I do and how do I handle this? So if you're in a throwing slump as a quarterback, what I recommend after practice, stay about 15 to 20 minutes. Have your friends set up a tripod, whatever. Film yourself throwing. Okay, because chances are there's probably something mechanically that you're doing. Film it from behind and film it from the side where the camera is facing your chest. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to take that film and take it to a reliable source. Either your position coach, your quarterback coach, somebody you trust that has good, like I guess you could say analysis, and be like, hey, is there anything wrong that you see here, right? They tell you what's wrong. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to get to practice, get there early, about 15 to 20 minutes early, and work that specific skill. Get a few good throws under your belt. Take that into practice during positional drills, during routes versus air. In live game situations like 11 on 11, 7 on 7, you can't really think about the mechanical stuff, but you just need to diagnose what the problem is, rep out good habits of it, and that will get you back in the groove of things and start to build your confidence up. Because if you're saying to yourself, I'm throwing bad, I'm in a slump, whatever, that's only going to make things worse. So just figure out what the problem is and figure out how to attack that problem and fix it. Okay, so I hope that answers your question, man. All right, you guys, thank you for tuning into this episode of our show. Again, if you have questions, stuff you want to ask me, do not hesitate. Post those in the comment section below. Happy to answer those, get back to you guys, and feature you on another episode of our show. But again, hope this was able to help, and we'll see you guys next time.